This is Edinburgh, capital of Scotland and wonder city of the British Isles, where about 500,000 inhabitants live their lives and ply their trades in fair competition with the finest metropolitan cities in the world. For over 1,000 years, Edinburgh has been a city of culture and refinement, specializing in the propagation of religion, science, and the finer arts. Among the many men of letters listed in its Hall of Fame is Sir Walter Scott, who was born in Edinburgh August 15th, 1771. It was here in his beloved hometown that Scott was first inspired to write the stories and poems that have placed him among the supreme masters of literature. On Princess Street, almost in the heart of the city he loved so well, stands the Scott Monument, a fitting tribute to his memory from a grateful people. Conspicuously situated on a rock overlooking the city stands Old Edinburgh Castle, a relic of bygone days. As far back as the year 1000 A.D., this historic ground was the site of a royal residence. Among the outstanding landmarks of Scotland are Holyrood Palace and Abbey, where the widowed Mary, Queen of Scots, was married to James Hepburn, Earl of Bothwell, the chief conspirator in the plot to murder Mary's husband, Lord Darnley. It is a far cry from this old ruin to the Forth Bridge, which at the time of its construction was the largest cantilever bridge in the world. It was completed in 1890, and it is still the main railway connection on the east coast between northern and southern Scotland. This wonder of steel construction indirectly associates itself with the great steel magnate, Andrew Carnegie, who was born not far from here in the town of Dunfermline. It is a noble span from this humble birthplace of Andrew Carnegie to the numerous libraries and educational institutions throughout the world that owe their existence to his philanthropy. Among the best-known lakes in Scotland is Loch Lomond, the name of which has been perpetuated in one of the world's most popular songs. On the banks of the River Nith in Dumfries, we are thrilled at the thought of being in that section of Scotland where Robert Burns lived and died, and which inspired him to write most of the poems that made him world famous. It was in this old town of Dumfries that Robbie Burns was obliged to act as an exciseman, a somewhat unpopular occupation, as it had to do with the levying of local taxes. Nevertheless, the brief unpopularity he may have experienced has long since been forgotten, and the outstanding monument in all of Dumfries is the one that has been erected to the memory of Robert Burns. Here stands the house in which Burns lived in distressing poverty during the latter part of his life. It is now used as a museum and headquarters of the Dumfries Burns Club. Among the famous paintings to be seen here is the one called the Mauchline Holy Fair. In the town of Ayr, we visit the Tam O'Shanter Inn, which was once a favorite haunt of Robert Burns. Not far from here, at Alloway, is the humble cottage in which Scotland's most popular poet was born. A few miles from Dumfries, at Ellisland, stands the old farmhouse in which Burns lived and wrote such immortal poems as My Heart's in the Highlands, To Mary in Heaven, and Tam O'Shanter, which he is said to have composed while walking along a path in this peaceful setting. Aside from Robert Burns, other poets have found inspiration in this romantic region, one of whom was William Douglas, who composed an immortal poem to his beloved Annie Laurie. And that poem, set to music, is now one of the world's most familiar songs. Annie Laurie was a bonny lassie who once lived on Maxwelton Braes in this very house. Although Annie Laurie has long since departed this life, the pastoral peace of Maxwelton's Braes has not changed, and placid cattle still graze in the fields where early falls the dew. It was while plowing one of these fields that Robbie Burns overturned the nest of a field mouse, which inspired him to write the famous poem, including the well-known lines, "The best laid schemes o' mice and men gang after gley." In the valley of the River Doon at Alloway is another picturesque locale, which inspired Robert Burns to write many of his poems. This is the famous old Briggle Doon over which Tam O'Shanter crossed on his wild ride. The peaceful stream which flows beneath the bridge has been immortalized in one of Burns's most popular songs, "Ye banks and braes o' bonny Doon."
How can he sing me little bird, and I so weary, full of care?
The graveyard around Old Alloway Kirk also played a prominent part in Burns's poem about the hectic adventures of Tam O'Shanter. The mortal remains of Robert Burns, the beloved bard of Scotland, lie buried in this mausoleum at Dumfries. He gave to the world a heritage of poetry and song, not the least of which was Auld Lang Syne, the world's greatest song of conviviality and friendship.